Hey students, welcome back to Buddy. Let's review chapter 27 notes, okay? So we found out that little T was doing poorly in school. He was getting Fs. He actually cut school for a day. Mama was very upset she couldn't find king cake in Mississippi. They want to celebrate Mardi Gras. And Daddy talks about the importance of studying and working hard and that failing school is not an option. It is not a choice. Not in his family. He says, ain't no F going to come through the door of my house, and ain't no skipping school going to sit at my table. Chapter 28. That first day we go back to New Orleans, Daddy works me so hard, I think he's going to kill me. We're dragging all the wet, black stuff out of the house and piling it up by the street. We can't hardly carry the sofa between us, but somehow we manage. We stand in Grandpa T's room for about an hour, staring at the refrigerator, laying face down on the floor, and trying to figure out how to move it. Daddy's afraid to lift it up, because whatever is in it will fall out. But we can't just leave it laying there forever. Finally, we give up and go back to work in the living room on the stuff we know how to do. The tables and chairs and dishes and clothes and pictures and curtains and books. By the end of the day, there's a heap of stuff as tall as me, stretching all the way across the sidewalk in front of our house. We're standing on the street looking at that pile. We're filthy from our heads to our feet. Daddy's grinning about as big as I've seen since August. We started, he says. I guess we can finish. I ain't so sure, but I don't say nothing. When we get home, I just open my book bag and start studying. Okay, so little T's back to studying. The next Saturday, we clean out Grandpa T's room, except for the refrigerator. I'm worrying it's going to be sad to do, but it ain't. We can't even tell all that stuff was ever his. I collect up what pictures are still hanging on the wall, except they ain't pictures anymore. They're just frames with glass in them and streaky colored paper behind. The hanging rod in his closet broke, and all his shirts and suits are wadded together in a heap on the floor on top of his old shoes. That old mattress weighs a ton, being full of water. The drawers in the bureau are stuck shut, so we just haul the holding out at once. We go back inside and stand in Grandpa T's room, just looking. It's so quiet in New Orleans now that, when we ain't making noise ourselves, my ears feel like they fill up with silence, like there ain't no such thing as sound. Then Daddy sucks in a deep breath. Well, he says, at least we still got some pictures of your grandmama. I don't say nothing, because there really ain't nothing to say. The next weekend, we have a bunch of helpers. We wrap the refrigerator around and around with duct tape and set it on the street. One of the helpers thinks he's so funny. He gets a marker out of his truck and writes all over the refrigerator, "Free Katrina gumbo inside, special recipe." Everybody stands around and laughs for a little bit. Then we go inside and drag out the washer and dryer, still sloshing with water inside them. I'm carrying a load of rotten towels to the street when along comes this big old truck. It's got a claw arm attached behind the cab. It pulls up in front of our house, and that claw arm reaches out and latches onto the refrigerator. It lifts it up like it's a toy, turns it a little this way and a little that way, and sets it down in the back of that truck with about 15 other refrigerators all lined up like they're on sale, except they're not. and then off it goes looking for another dead refrigerator. When we get home that night, I'm telling all about the refrigerator truck and this other truck that came along with the little bobcat. That little bobcat hustled up to our washer and dryer and picked both of them up at the same time, side by side, just like they always were in the house. It carried them to the truck and set them down in the trailer, and off they went, side by side, forever. Well, Tanya falls out laughing, and then baby Terrell grabs one of her dolls and whops her, and Mama starts fussing, and Daddy shakes his head, and Rover starts barking, and to tell the truth, I can't help but laugh a little bit by myself. I laugh, and then I get out my books. Okay, so little T's starting to feel some joy a little bit, right? He's studying again, and there's a little laughter and a little joking going on in the house. Okay, so it's something, right? A couple of weeks after that, Daddy says, there's so much work to do. We're going to start staying overnight soon as my grades get better. That means he doesn't want to make the day trips, like from Mississippi to New Orleans and back to the apartment in Mississippi. He wants to spend the night in the house that's in ruins, okay? The little T says his grades are already better, okay? They're already better, I say. School ain't hard. Then you're a bigger fool than I thought, making F's. I ain't making F's no more. I'm up to B's now. Then I guess we can stay overnight. You can bring your books with you. But if you go down, I ain't going down, I promise. And Mom is standing there listening with her arms crossed over her chest. So now you'll be gone Saturday and Sunday, she says. I guess, Daddy says. Then you can take that dog with you. Nobody's taught him any manners yet. And I can't watch him and my babies too. Baby Terrell's kicking to get down out of his high chair. Mama picks him up, and while she's still holding him, she turns around and looks at Daddy. Why are you doing all this, T. Jr.? She says. We're going home, baby, Daddy says. When I get that house fixed up, we're going home. I don't think Mama wants to return to New Orleans, to tell you the truth. I think she wants to stay in Mississippi. So Daddy and me start camping in the old house on Saturday nights. We get us a couple of air mattresses and a battery-operated lantern and a cooler so big I can almost lay down in it. Daddy fixes up a kind of hideaway spot in the backyard where we can do our business, and we're ready to go. Mama cooks us something to take that we can eat cold. We stop at a store on the way in and get a supply of drinks and 2 gallons of water. Daddy always has it figured out what we're going to do. Maybe we'll be tearing out the plaster in the living room. Maybe we'll be ripping out the carpet. When it gets too dark to work, we each get 1 gallon of water to wash up. Then we eat what Mama cooked. Stretch out on those air mattresses and don't move until morning. Of course, because they're exhausted from driving to New Orleans, from working all day. It's a lot of work, right? So they sleep well, okay? Not even Rover. He spends the whole day hunting rats in the yard or keeping cool under the house. When we wash up, he stands under the drifts and tries to bite them. When we go to sleep, he snugs himself down in a spot he's made under the house right below my mattress. Soon as he hears my feet hit the floor in the morning, his tail starts whopping on the dirt. And then we get busy all over again. One Saturday, Daddy sets me to work in the old bathroom, banging out the tiles and adding them to the pile in front. He gives me a little mallet and a face mask, and he tells me to knock off every last piece. Daddy goes over to Mrs. Washington's house to help some men from the church get her refrigerator wrapped up and on the street. Her nephew's coming back soon, they say, and at least that much will be done. I'm swinging that mallet like there's no tomorrow and sweating hard. Those tiles are flying. Every once in a while, I stop and catch my breath, and then I get going again. That bathroom's getting full of dust. I'm finding the same thing on every stud. Black mold growing at the bottom. Daddy says when we get everything cleared out, we're going to wash every stick of wood in that house with bleach. That's going to be some kind of hard job. Eventually, there's so much dust in there I can't hardly see. I'm covered in white from head to toe. I decide it's time to take a break. I go outside to sit on the front porch. Soon as the screen door bangs, Rover comes zipping around from the backyard. He loves coming to New Orleans. He kills a rat twice a day almost, and that's way more fun than dragging that old doll around. Sure enough, he's carrying something dead now, and he wants me to see it. Put that down, you fool dog, I say. He just stands there looking at me, his tail slowing down a little bit. You can't come up on the porch with that, I say, and his tail starts going again. He takes one step forward, and I hustle down the steps. Drop it! He don't budge. You got to learn, Rover, I say. We just can't have dead rats lined up on the porch anymore. Drop it. He's kind of whining and trying to decide what to do. I'm thinking, I wish he spoke English. I wish he knew what to do like Buddy did. I wish somebody had trained him. And then, pow! It hits me. Ain't nobody trained Rover because he ain't never been anybody else's dog before he was mine. I'm standing there looking at that dog and his tail whapping away and that dead rat hanging out of his mouth, and I'm thinking, it's all on me. Right? So little T has to train him. He's watching me right back, and his tail is speeding up. I notice his eyes are sort of like Buddy's. They're dark, dark brown, and they've got black going all around them. Rover stretches out his front feet and bends down and looks up at me, and I can't decide whether he's laughing at me or not. Drop it, I say, making my voice sound like Daddy. I point to the ground. Rover ducks down a little farther. He shakes his head like I must think he's a fool if I think he's going to let go of that rat. And then, boom, he drops it. I can't believe it. I go down on my knees. His eyes ain't laughing at me at all. They're just laughing. I rub him all along his neck and say, good dog, Rover. Then he's trying to climb me, and it's all I can do to stay out of the way of his tongue and his scratching, wet paws, when all of a sudden I hear somebody say, that ain't Buddy. I whip around, and there's J-Boy. There's J-Boy standing at the gate. My heart leaps up in happiness. You're home, I say. Yeah, he says, and nods his head a little. I'm home. I'm standing up, and Rover's jumping on me and still licking me and letting out little barks, and I'm trying to push him down, and he thinks it's all a game, just like baby Terrell when he whops you with his toy and thinks it's so funny. That ain't the three-legged dog, J-Boy says. What happened to him? He drowned? Gee, that wasn't really nice of J-Boy, right? To ask that? I don't feel like answering that. I push Rover down again, and lucky for me and J-Boy, he hears something scratching under the house and goes sniffing after it. We stand there a minute, watching Rover's back end sticking out from under the house and his tail whacking back and forth. When I look up at J-Boy, I see his eyes are half closed, and he's got a piece of lint stuck in his hair. Where have you been? I ask him. We ended up in Houston. Oh, we're in Mississippi, but we're coming home once we fix up the house. Are you fixing your house? Nah, he says, it ain't our house anyway. Where are you staying then? He nods his head to the side a little. Down the street. Where are you going to school? I ain't. You ain't going to school? I'm finished with school. You graduated? He rolls his eyes. You always was a fool. I'm 16. I don't have to go anymore. I'm through with school. You're 16? Almost. When will you be 16? Ain't none of your business. Your mama says you can quit school? Ain't none of her business. Ooh. She ain't calling the cops on you? She ain't here. She's in Houston. So you're staying in New Orleans by yourself? I got company. Your mama says that's okay? She can say what she wants. I don't care. Ooh. We're standing there at the gate, just looking at each other. Then he looks up at the house. So you're living here now? No, I told you. We're just here on the weekend. Then we go back to Mississippi. You fixed the roof, he says. Daddy mostly did that. You got electricity? I laugh. You're the fool now. He looks up the street. I got to go. He hikes up his pants and he eases off. I sit down on the porch. I look at all the houses up and down my street. There ain't nobody living in any of them. I wonder where that boy Rusty is now. And where is that boy I never talked to that was always reading books? And that girl who was taller than me, but who was nice. And my teacher and all the other kids and all the other teachers of all those people. I'm thinking, why is J-Boy the only one who's made it back? Why is J-Boy? Students, I'm going to talk to you because I talked to you a little bit about this chapter because I have to open up the chapter 28 notes, okay? So I forgot to open them up. Why is J-Boy the only boy that little T sees? He doesn't see anybody else he knows. He doesn't see teachers. He doesn't see other friends, okay? J-Boy is not going to school anymore, right? J-Boy says he's dropping out. J-Boy says it doesn't matter what his mother thinks. J-Boy's asking if the roof is fixed completely, and J-Boy's wondering if they have electricity. I'm wondering, is J-Boy alone? Is J-Boy living off the streets? Does J-Boy have a family anymore? What's up with J-Boy? And if he's the only kid that little T sees, maybe J-Boy never left. Because if we go back to the chapter, he says, I'm thinking, why is J-Boy the only one who's made it back? Well, maybe J-Boy never left. Maybe he did not evacuate. Okay, so chapter 28 notes. Daddy, Little T, and Rover go to New Orleans every weekend to clean out the house. Little T works hard in school and he earns B's in his classes. Little T does difficult manual labor in the house. He's working with his hands. Little T finally trains Rover. Little T and J-Boy have a conversation. We're guessing J-Boy is homeless and he dropped out of school. Here's the quote. We're going home, baby, Daddy says. When I get that house fixed up, we're going home. And my thought is that Mama wants nothing to do with New Orleans ever again. My opinion. So here are the questions, the two stop and jot questions. Does Mama want to return to New Orleans? Explain why or why not. But give me a reason why. Why do you think J-Boy asked Little T if his family is living in the house and if they have electricity. So there are 2 stop and jot questions, okay? And I will see you for chapter 29. Bye.